if I told you there is a place where faith was not built with bricks, but carved directly from the earth itself? High in the rugged mountains of northern Ethiopia lies Lalibela, a sacred town that seems suspended between heaven and stone. At first glance, it appears quiet, almost modest, but beneath its surface lies one of the most extraordinary architectural achievements in human history. More than 8 centuries ago, in the 12th century, a king named Lalibela envisioned something bold, something eternal. At a time when pilgrimage to Jerusalem had become dangerous and uncertain, he imagined creating a new Jerusalem in the highlands of Ethiopia, a holy city that would serve as a spiritual center for generations. But this would not be a city built upward toward the sky. It would be carved downward into the earth. The landscape of Lalibela is volcanic, shaped by ancient lava flows that hardened into dense rock. Instead of constructing churches from transported materials, workers began at the top of solid stone. They cut deep vertical trenches into the ground, isolating massive rectangular blocks. From those blocks, they carved entire structures shaping walls, columns, windows, staircases, and sanctuaries directly into the living rock. This was not decoration. This was subtraction. Every doorway, every arch, every interior corridor required removing stone, thousands upon thousands of tons of it, using only hand tools, chisels, and relentless precision. There are 11 major churches in Lalibela, grouped into clusters connected by narrow passageways, tunnels, and open courtyards. Moving between them feels like entering a sacred labyrinth, a city hidden below the surface of the earth. The northern cluster includes some of the largest structures, including Beit Medhain Elam, believed to be one of the largest monolithic churches in the world. Its tall columns stand in silent symmetry, carved from a single mass of stone. Light filters softly through narrow windows, illuminating ancient walls that have witnessed centuries of prayer. Nearby stands Beit Mariam, often considered the oldest of the churches. Its walls are decorated with carved crosses and faded frescoes, traces of devotion that have endured the passing of time. To the east lies another group of churches, connected through dark, narrow tunnels that symbolize spiritual journeys, passages from darkness into light. But perhaps the most iconic structure of all stands alone. Beit Georgios, the house of St. George. Isolated from the other churches, it is shaped like a perfect cross when viewed from above. Its proportions are precise, its symmetry almost mathematical. From ground level, it appears as if the earth itself opened to reveal it. Descending the trench toward its entrance feels like entering another world. The walls rise high above you, enclosing silence. The only sounds are footsteps and the distant murmur of prayer. Legend says angels descended at night to help complete what human hands began during the day. While historians attribute the construction to extraordinary planning and labor, the sense of wonder remains undeniable. How did workers measure so precisely without modern instruments? How did they remove such immense volumes of rock? How did they coordinate such complex underground designs? These questions still inspire debate. Yet Lalibela is not a forgotten relic of the past. It is alive. Every year, thousands of pilgrims travel across mountains and valleys to gather here during major religious celebrations. During Ethiopian Christmas, known as Jenna, the church is filled with worshippers dressed in white cotton garments. They stand shoulder to shoulder through the night, holding candles that flicker against stone walls carved 800 years ago. Priests chant ancient hymns in Jayas, a liturgical language that has survived through centuries. The rhythm of prayer echoes through corridors and courtyards, blending past and present into one continuous moment. In Lalibela, history does not sleep, it breathes. The churches were carved during the Zag dynasty, a period of Ethiopian history that followed the powerful Aksumite Empire. Though less globally known, the Zag rulers left behind one of the most extraordinary spiritual legacies in Africa. King Lalibela himself is remembered not only as a ruler, but as a saint. Tradition holds that he was chosen for this divine task, guided by visions and faith. But beyond legend lies something even more powerful: human determination. The creation of Lalibela required planning, engineering knowledge, coordination of labor, and unwavering commitment. It required faith strong enough to imagine the impossible. Imagine standing on solid rock and deciding to carve a cathedral from it. Imagine seeing not what is there, but what could be revealed. That is Lalibela. The churches also reflect symbolic geography. Some scholars believe the layout mirrors the holy sites of Jerusalem. A small stream flowing through the complex is even referred to as the Jordan River. The architecture is not random, it is intentional, spiritual, symbolic. Over centuries, Lalibela endured natural erosion, political change, and global transformation. Yet the churches remain. Wind and rain have touched their surfaces. Empires have risen and fallen beyond their walls. Modern cameras now capture what ancient pilgrims once saw only by torchlight. And still, the stone stands firm. There is something humbling about Lalibela. It reminds us that greatness does not always rise upward in steel and glass. Sometimes, greatness is carved quietly, patiently, downward into the earth. It reminds us that faith can shape landscapes, that devotion can outlast centuries, that human hands, guided by belief and vision, can transform solid stone into sacred space. Lalibela is not merely architecture, it is testimony. Testimony to endurance, to creativity, to spiritual identity, to a civilization that chose to carve its faith into the foundation of the earth itself. And as the sun sets over the highlands, casting long shadows across ancient trenches, the churches remain silent, steady, eternal. Lalibela is more than a destination. It is a living sanctuary, a masterpiece revealed from stone, and its story continues to echo through the mountains of Ethiopia. As the centuries passed, Lalibela did not fade into silence. It became a center of pilgrimage, scholarship, and spiritual authority in the Ethiopian highlands. Monks copied sacred manuscripts by hand, preserving scripture and theological teachings in JS. The churches were not only places of worship, they were centers of learning. Inside dimly lit chambers, illuminated by oil lamps, generations of priests studied ancient texts. The walls that once echoed with the sound of chisels now carried the soft murmur of prayer and recitation. The Zag dynasty, under which Lalibela was carved, ruled during a transitional period in Ethiopian history. They inherited a legacy from the ancient Aksumite Empire, a civilization that had traded with Rome, Arabia, and India. Though the political capital shifted, the spiritual identity endured, and Lalibela became the physical symbol of that endurance. Carving these churches required more than faith. It required advanced understanding of geometry and structural stability. Workers had to calculate depth and proportion without modern measuring devices. One mistake could crack an entire structure. One miscalculation could collapse walls carved from a single stone mass. Yet the churches remained standing after more than 8 centuries. This speaks not only to belief, but to knowledge. Archaeologists continue to study the techniques used. Some propose that workers used basic surveying methods, marking lines with cords, and simple tools. Others suggest that different teams specialized in excavation, carving, and finishing details. The trenches surrounding the churches served both practical and symbolic purposes. Practically, they separated the structures from the surrounding rock, allowing them to stand free. Symbolically, they created a descent of physical movement downward that mirrors spiritual humility. To enter Lalibela is to descend. You walk down steps carved into stone. You move from sunlight into shadow, from open air into enclosed sanctuary. It is a journey inward. Many visitors describe a powerful stillness within the churches. The air feels cool. The stone absorbs sound. Time feels slower. This atmosphere is not accidental. The architecture shapes experience. The narrow windows allow limited light, creating a soft glow that highlights carvings without overwhelming the senses. The interior spaces are proportional, not vast like European cathedrals, but intimate, designed for communal prayer. Some churches contain hidden passages and small chambers. Scholars debate their original purpose. Were they meditation rooms, storage spaces, protective refuges during conflict? Lalibela has witnessed periods of instability. Ethiopia's long history includes internal dynastic struggles and external pressures, yet the churches survived. Even during the 16th century conflicts that affected much of the region, Lalibela remained a symbol of spiritual continuity. European travelers who reached Lalibela in later centuries were astonished. Many had never seen architecture carved entirely from rock in this way. Comparisons were made to Petra in Jordan, but Lalibela remained distinct in both scale and religious function. Unlike many ancient monuments that have become archaeological ruins, Lalibela never stopped being sacred.
Oh my
that
God.
continuity is rare. In the 20th and 21st centuries, conservation efforts began to address erosion caused by wind and rain. Temporary protective shelters were installed over some churches to shield them from environmental damage. Preservation experts worked carefully, balancing modern intervention with respect for authenticity. The goal is not to transform Lalibela, it is to protect it. Yet preservation is complex. Stone erodes slowly but persistently. Water seeps into cracks. Foot traffic from thousands of pilgrims and tourists leaves subtle wear. Each generation must decide how to honor the past while safeguarding the future. For Ethiopians, Lalibela is more than heritage. It is identity. It stands as proof that African civilizations achieved architectural and engineering feats often overlooked in global narratives. It challenges assumptions about medieval Africa. It invites deeper understanding of Ethiopia's historical depth. And beyond academic analysis, there remains something profoundly human about Lalibela. It represents belief made tangible. Imagine the workers day after day, year after year carving into rock with simple tools. Imagine the dust in the air, the sound of hammer against stone, the physical exhaustion. They may not have imagined that their work would endure for centuries. Yet it did. Every carved pillar carries the imprint of hands long gone. Every step descending into the trenches reflects effort layered over generations. Lalibela reminds us that history is not only written in books. Sometimes it is written in stone. As dawn breaks over the Ethiopian highlands, light slowly fills the trenches. The cross-shaped outline of Beit George's becomes visible against the earth. Shadows retreat. The stone glows softly in the morning sun. Pilgrims gather quietly. The day begins with prayer. Centuries have passed. Empires have risen and fallen. Borders have shifted. Technology has transformed the world. But here, in Lalibela, devotion continues as it has for 800 years. The churches remain steady, anchored to the earth from which they were carved, not built upon it, but revealed from within it. And in that revelation lies their greatest power. Lalibela is not only a monument to the past, it is a living conversation between stone and spirit. A reminder that faith, when combined with vision and determination, can reshape the very ground beneath our feet. Ethiopia's Orthodox Church is unlike any other on the continent. It is rooted deeply in African soil, yet reaches back over 1,700 years of continuous spiritual tradition. The faith here is not borrowed or imposed, it grew from the heart of the people themselves. In Lalibela, every stone, every carving, every hidden passage tells a story. The churches were carved downward into solid rock, as if to reach the very soul of the earth. Pilgrims climb long, narrow steps and steep cliffs, wearing white robes that shine in the sun, carrying candles, and chanting prayers passed down through countless generations. The most famous of these sanctuaries is Beit George's, the Church of St. George. Its perfect cross shape rises from the ground like a symbol of endurance. No one knows exactly how it was built. Some say it took thousands of laborers. Others whisper that angels themselves shaped the stone. Inside, the air is thick with incense and devotion. Ancient manuscripts, some over 1,000 years old, line the walls. Priests chant in Jayas, the sacred language of the Ethiopian Church, preserving the spiritual heartbeat of a nation that has never been fully conquered, never forsaken its identity. Even when foreign powers attempted to dominate, the Ethiopian people and their church stood firm. The European colonizers, who reshaped so much of Africa, could not bend Ethiopia's spirit. The faith remained purely African, continuously guiding the lives of its people. Outside the churches, life continues in the villages of Lalibela. Children chase goats across terraced hillsides. Farmers till the soil with oxen and handmade tools. Ancient festivals mark the seasons, each one intertwined with rituals of the Orthodox Church, reminding the people that their heritage is living, breathing, and unbroken. During Easter, Lalibela becomes a sea of white. Pilgrims arrive from across Ethiopia, and even from afar, to celebrate the resurrection. They circle the churches, pray through the night, and share meals with strangers, a reminder that faith here is as much about community as it is about God. This devotion is mirrored throughout the country, from the northern highlands to the southern plateaus. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church guides not only spiritual life, but also cultural life. Festivals, music, art, and even agriculture are shaped by its teachings. Yet, Ethiopia's faith is not frozen in time. While the world modernizes, the church adapts without losing its soul. New generations learn the ancient chants. Children are taught to read manuscripts in Jayas, and monasteries continue to produce illuminated texts, connecting the present to centuries of wisdom. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church is more than a religious institution. It is the guardian of Ethiopia's history, its identity, and its freedom. Through every invasion, every external pressure, every challenge, it has remained a symbol of resilience and African pride. And as the sun sets over Lalibela, casting long shadows across the carved churches, one thing becomes clear: this land, these people, and their faith are eternal. The rocks may stand silently, but they speak loudly of endurance, devotion, and a spirit that no force can break.